Hello, my name is Paul Gibson. I'm a videographer and archiver dedicated to collecting items pertaining to the African American experience in America. Many of you may have seen my exhibits that's on YouTube with the newspapers that captured from 1792 to the present headlines of history. This particular exhibit, this is my fourth exhibit here at the African American Black Showcase, Culture and Showcase in Philadelphia. To change things up, I decided to do, because of the excitement of the Black Panther movie recently, to engage and pull some things up that I have of African American comics, characters in the comics. This one is called From Sambos to Superheroes, the evolution of the black character in comics. I started with the first ones, the first frames dealing with comics that are not on the mainstream. Many of them titles people have never seen before, Captain Africa or Purge or The Black Man or Zwana, Son of Zulu. And I carried all the way through from different ones that were done for Marvel and DC. You have the Night Thrasher, and obviously you have the Black Panther, Falcon. All of these are male characters that are enhanced, and they jumped on the bandwagon pretty much when they saw that there was some profit into making superhero characters in African Americans. Some of them, I would say, started as sidekicks to the major heroes, and then they developed their own titles. Back in 1970, there was a couple of people that started Milestone. There's some young black men that started Milestone, and they brought out titles as Icon, Black Lightning, Static, Hardware, Shadow Cabinet. And so these first three panels kind of give you a sense of all the comics that people have never seen or have seen or very rare because they are limited in the editions that they produced. They were all pretty much done from the late 70s forward. I call the exhibit Sambos to Superstars, and I wanted to put some things in that showed the Sambo issues that we had back then with newspaper strips and comics. There was one particular comic by the gentleman that produced Heckle and Jekyll. They called it Little 8-Ball. They buried it inside the comic so you would not see it on the cover. But there was a little 8-Ball. There's another person, there was John Alcott, who first did Yellow Man comics. He did a whole series of panels, was called Poe Little Moe's. High color caricatures of black folk in expressing. The Sambo obviously is the newspaper one from 1911 and 1910 respectively, and these were published out in the public, you didn't have to look far, and they were published and produced. Those kind of images, again, were the images that we were subjugated to, and moving forward, that's why comics went from comic strips to comic books with that same kind of impression. Moving forward, I then started to try to encapsulate different ideas that came into the comics, and one specific one was the war issues, a lot of war comics. And war comics had black characters that were either major characters that were in parts of a group, or they even highlighted particular ones where they had Sergeant Rock issues that talked about the Tuskegee Airmen. Again, different issues that were embedded inside the idea of being in war with black people. So this is on the ground type of thing. So there's a different kind of, not a superhero anymore, but more kind of a reality kind of a check that the stories illustrated. One of the things I found is that all the comics that I saw or we've just looked at were male-based. What I mean by male-based was the characters was male. And I had a discussion not too long ago with some people. We were talking about why that was and how women were never portrayed that much until later on. When the coming of Storm was in X-Men, you had a very rare one, which is Captain Marvel, who was the black female Captain America. Vixen, and you had another one that was called Panther, and they said that she was black, but that's questionable. Wonder Woman had a partner that was African American or colored that way. So this panel here shows, the ones that I found that, Martha Washington Goes to War, which is a whole series. And again, series meaning that they were less than like maybe 20 issues, and after that they disappeared, The final, the ones that are upright, these are the most current ones, and these ones are dealing with the complete issue redefinition of a character. We have like the Ultimate Fallout, which is the new Spider-Man, who is now Hispanic and black, no longer white. We have a Truth, which came out in Marvel, which like debunked the whole story of Captain America and said that the real Captain America, the first Captain America, was African American, and it was based the way the story was structured. It was based on on a Tuskegee experiment, that this person went through that became superpowers or whatever the case is. But then again, they changed it so there would be, that was where eventually became. Captain America became white. Now, that's a whole other story. That's not for this time, but I'm just illustrating what this exhibit is. On the bottom, I have like celebrities and other issues of the Obama issues or whatever to show that we have representation in the comics. The other panel have what I would call hero and sheroes. We have issues of sports issues, Muhammad Ali and Jackie Robinson. We have Malcolm X. We have also television and entertainment issues of the Prince and the Public Enemy. Just to give an idea of like the breadth of our representation. Now this again is just a small example of what is really available and what can be found. We are definitely represented, not like we were, and moving forward. The storylines now are becoming much more on the ground, reality based, not out of the world kind of a thing. But then again, thanks to the Black Panther movie, that people have maybe reinstituted their eagerness to go and find comic books. More specific comic strip that I would really talk about is the Boondocks, which did not become a comic book, but it was in newspapers and eventually became a television animation show. Some of the subjects in the Boondocks are right off the pages of the news, which is again a satirical look at the way the world is, and I think that is that's one of the pluses that they have. For me personally, comic books was my introduction to really reading, and it also gave as a male images of something I could be bigger than. I think that's one of the ideas of comics, is to expand one's imagination, so to speak. So this is it. Again, from Sambos to superheroes.